Welcome to Vsb News Online for Tuesday, April the 21st. I'm Charles Webb. Finance Minister Bob Richards was unusually critical of the local banks in his recent budget speech, claiming that they were not playing their part in assisting Bermuda to sail out of the economic doldrums. Brian Darby asked Ian Shuren, CEO of the Clarion Bank, if this criticism was fair.
Is he being fair? I actually recently participated in an interview request with a Bermudian magazine where I tried to frame his position as the Minister of Finance. One of his roles is to make sure that the banks are participating with economic stimulus to get us out of this recessionary environment, but to do so in a safe and sound way. And safety and soundness, from my perspective as the CEO of the bank, has to be first and foremost. Economic stimulus has to be second. And where we have the opportunity to participate in rebuilding Bermuda, as I'll call it, from out of its recessionary environment, we certainly are doing so. I think the Minister Richards, specifically mentioned the gap in what the banks take deposits at versus what they are charging on loans. Believe it or not, all of that is not profit. and that goes to covering the many costs that we incur in providing banking services in Bermuda, including our licenses, including our insurance, and most importantly, including our payroll-related expenses, which make up approximately 50% of the revenues that we take in the bank. We could take some harsh positions, and we could say we may charge less on a loan, or we may pay more on a deposit. But if ultimately that results in less Bermudians being employed, I think we as sound corporate citizens need to weigh those decisions very thoroughly before we make those types of hard calls.
Well, you're that unusual thing, a bank with a heart, which is probably why you're still with us.
We hope that that's the way it's perceived. I know that the institution received some criticism in 2014 for some of the decisions that it's made. We face those. We are going through a rebuilding exercise in both the community, our staff, and with our clients, most importantly as well. So we do hope that the community respects our efforts that we're trying to rebuild that.
And while we're on the subject of budgets, savings made in the last year's national security budget are going to the aid of 4 community helping organizations. Premier and National Security Minister Michael Dunkley today presented checks totaling over $500,000 to Pride, Team Street Safe, the Salvation Army, and Focus. He told the organizations the savings were worthwhile, as we would have to pay either now or pay later.
The work of these community partners does not start or end with the harsh economic times, but is constant in the continuum of care that our society requires. I'm pleased today to be joined by representatives from the Salvation Army, Pride, Focus Counseling Services, and Team Street Safe here at the podium. Each of these entities plays a vital role in some aspect of our social network and promotes productive lifestyle choices. This is the work that this government supports, not just in words, but also in deed. Very often, the social impact of this difficult economy can be lost in justifiable concerns about debt service payments, cost cutting, or greater efficiency. The challenge of governing in these times is to strike that necessary balance between fiscal prudence and providing for those in need of help in our society. So today, I'm pleased to announce that through savings realized in the past year's budget, the Ministry of National Security is able to review this critical grant funding in support of these organizations who join me at the podium today. Each department within the ministry managed their allocated funding in full compliance with government's policy of reducing expenditure, if at all possible, and providing services to the public in a more efficient manner, if at all possible. In some cases, overtime budgets has been significantly reduced. Non-essential projects have been deferred, and posts have not been filled, or retirement has come into place, which means that we've realized significant savings with no detriment or operational effectiveness being compromised. All of these recipients file quarterly reports with the Department of National Drug Control, who oversee these programs. So I'd just like to take the opportunity to emphasize again, they file the quarterly reports, so the money is accounted for and the services they do. And thank you for the Department of National Drug Control for overseeing these community needs.
With his petition in support of same-sex marriages attracting over 2,000 signatures in less than a week, local activist Tony Brennan is planning to hand the document to a government official on May the 1st. He's been encouraged to see the two polls on social media also showing strong support for a change in the law.
It's really a human rights issue. At the bottom line of this, it's a human rights issue. It's the right thing to do. For everybody from Walter Cronkite said it was the right thing to do. Barack Obama has been championing this in America. Hillary Clinton, it's part of a campaign sort of strategy. Same-sex marriages have been made legal in so many places. Bermuda needs to step up and do the right thing, and our leaders need to stop hiding on this issue, because it seems to me that they've gone deathly quiet. No one's speaking out and saying yay or nay or anything. And the bottom line is that this, A, is the right thing to do. Two, it's a tourism bonus for Bermuda. Statistically, and when you do some research on this, same-sex couples spend 57% more than their straight counterparts when they go on holiday. And that's a huge business to be ignoring. But the opportunity to have, may I call it, a pink wedding on a pink beach would be fantastic. It's great revenue for the island. And look, I've got friends. We were almost relatives at one point in our lives who had to go and get married away from Bermuda with his partner in Canada. And he would probably love to have been married here, but he had to go away to get married. It's about rights and what happens when you are same sex. What happens when you split the estate up and all sorts of other things like that. But basically, it is, and I'll tell you what's really good about the petition is that the response to the petition was amazing, as you've seen, and everyone seems to be commenting about how many people have stepped up and said yes. The Bernews poll, Bernews told me, Paddock Bernews had told me that when they did a poll a couple of years ago, it was 58% against. It's now 70% for on the Bernews poll. The Royal Gazette poll, they strategize their questions a little bit differently, but same-sex marriage is still leading on their poll, heading for 4,000 people that have voted. So, getting on for 2,000 on the Bernews poll. We're about 2,200 on the petition.
Very good.
And I wanted to present. My plan is to present the petition on May Day.
The death of Royal Navy hero George Sampson, VC, as his ship passed Bermuda in 1923, and his subsequent burial with full military honors in St. George are the centerpiece of a commemoration service on Saturday evening in honor of the 100th anniversary of the first battle of the First World War. Andrew Birmingham, president of the Bermuda Historical Society, feels that people who fail to see the connection with Bermuda are missing out on that special connection that the island has always had with men of the sea.
It's as much about George Sampson's great gallantry as about the benevolence of Bermudians, and that is the story. There's a two-sided story here. Allo Dicky Tucker made a special point of when that ship radioed into Bermuda to go out to the ship. The body was retrieved, and it was only thanks to Dicky Tucker that when he searched through the clothing, they found notes to indicate that it was in fact George Sampson, Victoria Cross winner at Gallipoli in 25th of April 1915, when he and 5 other members of the Royal Navy under the command of Commander Unwin were awarded Victoria Cross. The 5 Victoria Crosses in one day is second only to the 7 won at the Battle of Rorke's Drift in 1879. So this was a classical example of great courage collectively by members of the Royal Navy. When George Sampson was identified. Contact was made with Admiralty House and the governor, and it was down to L.L. Dickey Tucker that the largest military funeral that Bermuda's ever seen was held in St. George. And George Sampson was laid to rest in the military cemetery overlooking the North Shore. The upshot of all this is that this Victoria Cross awarded to George and his other medals are owned by Lord Ashcroft. Lord Ashcroft has the largest private collection of Victoria Crosses in the world. In 2007, Lord Ashcroft was informed that this Victoria Cross was coming up for auction. He specifically collected or bought Royal Naval Victoria Crosses, and he paid the then world record price of £210,000 for this Victoria Cross. So it's on display, on rotation at the Imperial War Museum in London, and greatly treasured.
And we'll be back with more news right after this.
In an effort to make Bermuda's roads safer, and in partnership with Bermuda Police Service and the Bermuda Road Safety Council, Defence Broadcasting is launching a safe driving campaign. Complete with thumb bands, come into Defence Broadcasting and 94 Reed Street and make the commitment to drive safer and slower for yourself. Your voice could be featured on the radio. Get yourself a thumb band as a reminder of your commitment to drive safer and with fewer distractions. While you're at it, why not get one for someone in your life who also needs a reminder that our roads do not discriminate. They can take anyone's life. Let's drive safe, Bermuda, and arrive alive. Peace and love. Safe journeys.
During the last 6 months, Butterfield's Bank has received accolades from 3 leading industry publications. First, it was The Banker with the Bank of the Year honors in Bermuda and Cayman. Then it was Euromoney's Private Banking Survey in Cayman and Guernsey. Now, Global Finance has named Butterfield's Best Bank in Bermuda in its 2015 selections of the world's best developed market banks. Global Finance has a circulation of more than 50,000 subscribers in 180 countries. Brandon McDonough, Butterfield's chairman and CEO, said that the Global Finance's selection of his bank, when compared with many of the world's leading banks, validated its approach to service, product development, and balance sheet management. And now we turn to Earl Baisden with the latest from the sports desk.
Several Bermuda runners took to the Boston Marathon course yesterday, 2 years after the deadly bombing. Martez Theron was the top finisher, clocking a time of 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 46 seconds, finishing 2,587th overall. Jamie Frazier clocked a time of 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 42 seconds, finishing 3,357th, while the 8,977th finisher was Christine Palmer with a time of 3 hours, 26 minutes, and 38 seconds. Christopher Jones clocked a time of 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 14 seconds, a time that saw him finish 11,186 overall. Justin Brennan finished 11,197th, clocking a time of 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 16 seconds. Andrew Hunt also completed the race, crossing the line in a time of 3 hours, 37 minutes, and 45 seconds, a time that saw him finish 12,664th. Crossing the line in a time of 3 hours, 44 minutes, and 31 seconds saw Gemma Holding finish, with Benjamin Lau clocking a time of 3 hours, 53 minutes, and 45 seconds. Jose Lopez clocked a time of 3 hours, 55 minutes, and 36 seconds, with Martin Merritt clocking 4 hours, 4 minutes, and 13 seconds. Annie Kermode clocked 4 hours, 10 minutes, and 36 seconds, with Darren White clocking 4 hours, 22 minutes, and 32 seconds. Kevin Davis finished in a time of 4 hours, 23 minutes, and 47 seconds. Liz Craig finished in a time of 4 hours, 35 minutes, and 54 seconds, and Jan Stevens clocked 4 hours, 38 minutes, and 28 seconds. The Bermuda Under-15 National Academy team returned from the Open Cup in Alabama yesterday with medals and a share of the title. Coach Ray Jones discussed how Bermuda can remain dominant, which always seems to be the case at the youth level.
Well, I think the key is keeping the groups together and moving them through the age brackets. I could go back at least about 8 years ago when I was last involved with the program. We worked with a group of boys for 2 years, and you basically saw the success of basically keeping them together. I mean, obviously funding is always a challenge, but I think we need to be creative. Like for this tour, there was a bit of fundraising that took place, like potluck suppers and things like that. So I think the key for us to be a dominant force, not just in youth, but continue on to the senior level, is that we continue to find matches. In this tournament, we made a few friends that are interested in coming over. So obviously, if the finances can work out, and they come over, then it keeps the boys active. You know?
The West End Sailboat Club hosted the Matthew Cup Comet Race in the Great Town. 4 boats went to the start line with Stephen Dickinson and his crew Heath Fogo sailing to victory on the day. The pair registered 4 points, while Gladman and Lorenzo Lambert finished second with 5 points, and Raquel Evans and Christina Bernard finished third with 6 points. The first race saw the Lamberts sail a strong race, holding off a storming Dickinson to take the win. The second race saw Dickinson take command right from the start, controlling the race and claiming the win. Evans claimed the victory in the third race before Dickinson sailed to victory in the fourth and final race. Lisa Blackburn and Julian Fletcher began taking part in the 2015 Arena Pro Swimming Series Grand Prix in Arizona over the weekend. Blackburn competed in the women's 100-meter breaststroke preliminaries, clocking a time of 1:14.74 that saw her finish 30th overall. Blackburn finished 5th in Heat 3, which advanced her to the D final. In the D final, she finished 5th, touching the ball in a time of 1:14.81. Fletcher took to the pool to compete in the men's 100-meter breaststroke preliminaries. He finished 4th in Heat 4 with a time of 1:03.97, just missing out on a spot on the A final by 0.2 of a second. In the B final, Fletcher finished 3rd, touching the wall in a time of 1:03.86. Meanwhile, fresh off her performance at the recently concluded Carifta Swimming Championships, Madeline Moore flew to London to compete in the British Swimming Championships. Moore did encounter a rough start to her trip as she was bedridden with a case of food poisoning. She had somewhat recovered enough to participate on day 4 of the event and taking part in the 15 to 16 girls open 50-meter freestyle. She finished 10th with a time of 27:13. The Bermuda Equestrian Federation held a April jumper and equitation show at the National Equestrian Center on Vesey Street over a 2-day period. Amber Bridges riding You'll Be Amazed won the Pony Pottle jumping class, while Desmo Fly, ridden by Kayla Barjett, finished second. The horse jumping 2 feet, 9 inches class was won by Abby Barjett riding What a Deal. Bevis Tetlow finished second riding Helsinki Van Hadthak, and Samantha Stemple riding Lorado finished in third. During the equitation event, Kelby Lusher riding Skyfall won the adult equitation class, with Abby Barjett and What a Deal finishing in second, and third was Gina Mall riding Good as Gold. The junior equitation 15 to 18-year-old over the fences class was won by Justice Anderson riding Carolina Gold. Kristen Bean and Skyfall finished second, while Marcus Darrell riding High Heels finished in third. Fans were treated to a most exciting and competitive play in a 4-year history of the All-Star Game, with a total of 27 incredible goals scored during the Women's Futsal All-Star match inside the Bermuda College Gymnasium on Saturday night. For the first time in the All-Star Game for women's futsal, 2 5-minute extra time periods were played, with the West jumping out to a 1-goal lead. But in the second overtime, the East equalized and came storming back to take a 1-goal lead in the dying seconds of the game behind a Shayra Bow goal. Just when it looked as if the East would finally win, yet again, the West scored the game-tying goal at 12-all. It looked like penalties would have to decide the winner, but it was Tashana Wade scoring a rocket as the West won 13-12. I'm Earl Baisden reporting for VSB Sports.
Looking at the weather for Wednesday, April the 22nd, there will be decreasing clouds after a morning shower or two. Winds will be northwesterly, light to moderate, backing westerly late at night. We're expecting a high near 73 and a low near 66. This weather forecast is the courtesy of the Bermuda Weather Service. Well, thanks for watching VSB News Online for Wednesday, April the 21st. I'm Charles Webb.